Hello and welcome to How Do You Soccer. I'm your host, Kirsten Hayes, and today we have with us Albertin Montoya, who's Technical Director of the Mountain View Los Altos Soccer Club. He's here with us today to talk about the Women's Premier Soccer League, the largest women's soccer league in the world with over 100 teams across the country, founded in 1998. And first I want to give you a little background on Albertin. He grew up playing for the MVLA Soccer League, and his dad was his coach and coached him to a youth national championship. He played on youth national teams, played at Santa Clara, was a finalist for the Hermann Trophy Award, was drafted by the San Jose Clash and played professionally, and after an injury came back to MVLA to coached a girls team to national championship and many state championships, and coached the WPS, that's the Women's Professional Soccer, 2010 FC Gold Pride Championship team, and coached the 2012 U17 U.S. Women's National Team. So he has lots of coaching background and a lot of local connection in soccer. So welcome, Albertin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about WPSL. And I know you have a long history with the WPSL. Tell us a little bit about your background with the league.
So I got involved in the league in 1998 when my wife started playing for the California Storm. The California Storm was run by the president and the founder of the league, Jerry Zanelli. And it was the only team around the area that we could play and that my wife could play in. And she was aspiring to play professionally, and there really wasn't anywhere else to play. So we would make the drive to Sacramento every weekend over the summer for her to stay fit. And it turned out that Jerry Zanelli asked me to coach the team. And didn't know how that was going to work out at first, because coaching my wife, you know, that's sometimes not necessarily the best thing, but it worked out really well. And that team, we were very fortunate. We had players like Julie Foudy, Brandy Chastain, Christy Rampone playing on this team. So it was a little bit more of an all-star team. There wasn't much coaching that had to be done. But that's when I started coaching the women, and kind of got my feet wet there, and I really appreciated the game and the women's side of it, which also helped then when I started coaching the girls. But then my wife, the following year, was drafted by in 2000, because we had another year, and then the '99 World Cup took place, and the WUSA was started in 2000. My wife was drafted by San Diego Spirit, and she played professionally there, but I was still coaching the California Storm, so I would coach some games on the weekends. I would fly to San Diego to watch her play in the WUSA, and you know, that was the start, but I stayed with California Storm for about 5 to 6 years, and several of those players went on to play in the WUSA, and it just kind of fell into, I was in the right place at the right time, and we had a great experience, and this is why I'm involved with it again.
And so that was your first experience coaching women?
It was, yes. I was coaching actually a year before with girls, but this is a U9 girls team, very different than managing some of these, you know, world stars. And but yeah, so that was my first experience with great players like that.
Huh. And so it's been quite a while, and now MVLA, the Mountain View Los Altos Soccer Club, has started a new WPSL team called the Wolves. And what prompted starting the team? Well,
again, it was a great opportunity for my wife when she played, and so many other athletes. And in this area, you have Stanford University, Santa Clara University, San Jose State. You have great community colleges. Cal is not very far away, and some of these players are looking for a place to play. And the nearest team is San Ramon, and then there's a team in Fresno, 2 teams in Sacramento, 1 in the North Bay. So it just made sense to start a team here. There are players that play at MVLA Soccer Club that go on and play in college, and when they come back, they train with us at MVLA, but we don't have a place for them to play. So sometimes they're commuting all the way to Sacramento. We kind of encourage them to go there only because of the connection with the California Storm. So this year when we put a team together, Jerry Zanelli, he was very supportive, but he wasn't necessarily thrilled since now I wasn't going to be able to send him some of the players. And it's just a great way for our players now, and I say our because so many of them are MVLA alumni that come back and play locally. They don't have to travel, and it's also very good because what we're doing is we're allowing our juniors in high school and seniors in high school to play in this league so they can continue growing as players, as individuals, and it helps prepare them for their college season. So right now I think we have 8 or 9 seniors playing on this team that are going to go on and play D1. Well, there's no better way than this next 2 months before they check in for their college season to train with some of the best players around the country, and they're getting games in. So it keeps them fit, it keeps them sharp, and just a great experience all around. And what I'd like to try to get out of this too is where our 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds start coming out to support our local team. And these are great role models for these kids. If they can see that there's a path for them, it's just a win-win all the way around.
And so, for what are the players that are coming out to play? So there's from colleges. What? So
you have players in college that are still in their sophomore, junior years that want to just stay fit. So they're in shape for the college season. But then we also have seniors in college that are getting ready to maybe go overseas and play professionally or play in the professional league here in the U.S. And there are some players also outside that have graduated, but that are just trying to find their way into the professional league. And this is just a great way for them to get noticed. There's good exposure through the league. And then you've got the high school players, which is just gives them an opportunity to continue developing by playing against the best.
And so some are coming from club and high school, and some are coming from college, and some are coming maybe after they've been pros, and some are about to be pros. And so they're coming from all these different levels and backgrounds. And how is it to bring all that together as a team?
Well, it's definitely challenging. But not only are they coming from other teams and colleges, they're coming from overseas too. We currently don't have any right now because we can't host players. We don't have the funding for that. But when I was putting this team together, we had emails from England, France, Scotland, Germany, and then all over the country because it's Silicon Valley. This is going to be a very good, strong team. So we had to turn players from Kentucky, Carolina, turn them down from Kentucky, Carolina, Florida, Maryland, and this is just off the top of my head. So, you know, right now it's just the local players, but the challenging part is, yes, you might have for example, of some of our games, we've had a freshman in high school, and we've had a few players that are in their mid-20s. So when they get together for practices and the conversations, they're not necessarily at the same level, but it's just they do a great job of accepting each other. They're all good players, so they can connect in that way. But another challenge is because they're coming from all different parts of life. Some are in college, they're still taking their finals, right? So at this, for example, the Stanford players, we've only had 1 or 2 come out, and they came in between finals. So that's been a challenge that way. Then we have other players that are working or have family and have other commitments. So what I thought at first was going to be easy to, hey, we've got 24 rostered on the team, 18 players will show up for a game, not a problem. That definitely was not the case early on. As our first game, we only had 7 available. And the beginning of the season, when we put our schedules together, a few of the owners were telling me, hey, Albertin, you make sure you roster at least 40 players. I'm like, 40 players? That's outrageous. I mean, only 18 will play. Why would I do that? They're like, trust me, they're not all going to be able to play at the same time. And I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. Well, huge mistake. It wasn't like when I first coached in 96, 97, where it was really the only team. Everyone wanted to do that. There weren't any other leagues. So I'm learning as we're going on. So now the roster is up to 32 players. And even with that, in our last game that we played in San Francisco, we only had 11 available to play. But but they come to practice. They're all there at practice. I'm like, well, now we need them at games, and that's starting to happen only because several of the schools, they finished their finals, and the players have gone on vacation, have come back, and I'm definitely looking forward to having that group play together, because when they are there, it's special. It looks really good. I mean, we've had a few games where it's been very entertaining, and anyone that goes out there and watches these players play, I think they'll be in awe. It's a special group.
And so, there aren't other women's soccer teams that level during the summer for people to go watch, right? And so it's the only game in town right now. It
is. Unfortunately, in California, we do not have a professional women's team. There are 10 other around the country. But so the best that we have is WPSL, which is just a step down. It would be equivalent to, let's say you've got the Major League Baseball. This is more like a AAA, AA. So, and it's right here in Silicon Valley. So it's very exciting. Like you said, it's a show in town, and you've got players from Santa Clara University, Stanford, Cal, and it's not only that, University of Oregon, Long Beach, USD, from everywhere in California that come back and play. So it is the only show in town, and I really encourage players to come out, families, players to come out and watch us play.
And so you've scheduled them on Friday evenings to make it a fun family outing.
I have, yes. So our games are Friday nights, typically either 6 or 7 p.m. at King's Academy. And that was the goal. It's a Friday night, have a nice dinner with the family, and come out and watch the game. And again, it's our first year, so we haven't necessarily promoted it all that much, but the word's getting out, and hopefully our next few games that we have at home will have a good crowd out there.
And so some of the players are players and names that the younger kids are familiar with from watching in the local college teams, and some of them they've seen at MVLA growing up through the years.
Yes, definitely. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's that connection right there, because we have players that are at Stanford, Cal, Santa Clara that played at MVLA, have played on U.S. national teams, or they're currently right now with U23 national teams, U20 national teams, and they're playing with other MVLA players. So it's great so let's say you have a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, they're like, wait, one day I could be playing with this college player that I look up to, a Tegan McGrady and Andy Sullivan that will play in this league, and it's exciting for them. That's what we're trying to create, that kind of buzz and that atmosphere and environment where everyone enjoys it.
And for the high school players, then they get this opportunity to go practice with players who are already in college before they go to college. How does that help them? What do they see? How does it kind of help them progress?
Well,
What's
it
the
really
difference?
helps them most, just the speed of play at the higher level. It's that much faster. So it requires a higher level of thinking for these players. So our MVLA players are known around the country to be very technical, and they're also very intelligent. It's the soccer IQ that they have. But now, can you do it at fast pace? And that's what the college players, these semi-pro players, bring in. They have the technical part of it, but it's the physicality and the speed. So now you're having to make these decisions that much quicker, and you have to be clean. A bad touch, and you're exposed. So it really does help our younger players prepare for the college season.
Yeah. How does it help different players differently? So that's how it helps the high school players, and then what about the college players coming back? So for them, like, oh, I'm playing with high school players, but what's the advantage to them?
Well, the advantage for them, though, is that they're still playing with elite college players. So our teams consist of about 30. So we do have some high school players there, but the majority are college players or players that have graduated and are already playing professionally and overseas, but they're coming back and playing in the summer with us. So it's a very challenging environment for everyone involved. And then for those college players, our goal is let's keep them fit, let's keep them sharp through the season. I speak with these college coaches, and they know how we run our sessions. They know that we're not going to wear them out, because that can be a concern. So we practice only 2 or 3 times a week, and it's a sharp, short practice. The players come in, they do their work, and then they go back out, and then 1 game a weekend. Well, 1 or 2 games. It all depends. But they really, it's basically, I keep saying this, but it is. It's just for them to stay connected with the game and stay sharp mentally, physically, technically. And then when they go into their preseason with the college, they're prepared. Because what sometimes happens is a college player thinks, okay, the season's over, summer, and they'll go. And you have to enjoy your vacation, but you can't take 2.5 months, 3 months off if you're playing at the D1 level. Because when you go into preseason, it's not going to work out very well for that player. And most of these players love the game, so they just want to be around it. And the competition is excellent, because when we play some of these other WPSL teams, they have similar players where they also play at a high level. So when it comes together, I mean, it's just it helps everyone that's involved.
So it seems like it's a big advantage then for MVLA players to be able to have a place they can just come home and still play.
It is, and not only coming home, but because they've grown up in our system, and I'll say it that way, because we play a certain style, a certain possession style game that requires thinking and good touches on the ball. When they come together, they play really well as a team. For example, our first game of the season was against a Fresno team. They train year-round, actually, and they're connected with a men's professional team where they have a facility, a stadium, and when they traveled to us, the beautiful bus, and we're like, oh my gosh, what the sponsors on their jerseys. And at halftime, some of our players were telling us that they were asking us how long we had been together. We played like such an incredible team. We were up actually 1-0 at halftime, and they couldn't believe it that was our first game together. And not only that, 5 of those players just met right there game day, and I passed out the jerseys during that, right before the game. So, but it was all coming together. But again, we had several generations that had played at MVLA, so when you put them together, they just kind of knew where to be and how to play together. So that was nice to see. And the more we train, then I think we can have a very special team.
And so what so you've talked a little bit about some of the challenges of pulling the team together. So I mean, one of it is that some players finish college early May, some don't finish college till mid-June, and then some have to be back in late June, and so there's this sort of rolling team. It's not
That's definitely a huge challenge. I mean, just because I have not had the same starting lineup at all this season, nor have we had the same players show up. It's been a different group, and there's been a couple games where we just had players show up for the first time. So, and that comes with the tour. Yeah, at the game, without any practice, they show up like, okay, you're playing. But that comes with the territory, knowing that players come in and out at different times, and so it's a challenge, but we welcome it, and the players enjoy it, and we try to get the most of it. And then also other challenges are fields and facilities, because right now just trying to find a practice facility is challenging. And then the game field, we were very fortunate that Kings was able to help us out, and we worked an agreement with them to play 4 of our home games. 4 of our home games there at Kings. But right now we're going week to week on where we practice, what time we practice, and yes, MVLA is helping us out a little bit. But this time of the year is challenging for all club teams to get allocated fields, and we're doing our best. So for right now, for example, tonight I have a practice at Graham Middle School in Mountain View, but I really don't know where we're going to be next week. So kind of playing it by ear right now, and everyone understands that, but we're trying to do our best.
In startup mode.
Yes.
Typical Silicon Valley.
Definitely startup mode, yes.
And what does having a WPSL team in the Mountain View, Los Altos, Sunnyvale area, what does that bring to the community? What are some of the things that can...
Well, first I'll touch on our club and MVLA, which is our community. There's a path for our players from 8-year-olds all the way until they graduate from college when they're 23, 24, 25 to come back and play. So and I know we'll have players that will start when they're 7, 8 years old and they're still playing when they're 24, 25, and just to see that there's that connection and that excitement, which I think brings the community together. But it's also, these are great role models. If you get to know these players and what they're about, this is exactly what I'd like to see our young 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds come out, watch these young women perform and play, and how they interact with the fans, how they behave on and off the field. And I think it's important for our young girls to see that you can be an incredible student athlete, be successful in different areas. So just bringing that to the community, I think, is priceless.
And where do you see it going? So it's sort of startup mode this year, sort of just starting, putting together, figuring out how to get enough players, and where do you hope to bring it in the next couple of years? So if I think big, why not maybe be a professional team out of this area? We used to have one in the WSA here in California, and then, we had the Cyber Race, and then in the WPS, we had the Pride, the team that I coached, and both teams, unfortunately, folded. The league folded in the WSA, the Pride folded, but it's challenging here in Silicon Valley to be able to afford and really have a team in California. But if we can just bring enough excitement back into the area, because it is an incredible, it's a soccer-rich community and an area. I mean, the talent is better than anywhere else in the country. Well, Southern California and Northern California. Southern California will argue, but we'll say we're better. And if we can maybe get something where, in some momentum, where we can have a women's professional team here, that's excellent. Now, if that doesn't come out of it, well, the WPSL, the local team, where it's just for years to come, a place for our local players to play, and players that are in college coming back. We have several players, I just thought of this, from University of Pennsylvania that played at MVLA, but they go to UPenn, and then they're coming back. So there's always a reason to come back now, and I know parents appreciate that. So instead of their kids staying over the summer somewhere else, miles away, and I've had a few parents come up to us like, "Oh, Albertin, thanks for starting this up. So-and-so now wants to come back." I'm like, great. I have a daughter playing in our club. She may go play somewhere else, but if she can come back in the summer to play for us, I know I'll enjoy that as a parent. So, those are the two sides of it. I'd love to see it go professionally, but if not, we're going to have a local team that's just going to bring a lot of joy to everyone that comes out and watches it. So WPSL is amateur.
Yes.
Yeah. And so are there some players that come back, go off, play pro, and then come back just because they want to keep playing?
There are. There's some players that will go overseas, and then they'll come back and play in WPSL to see if they can play on a professional team here in the U.S. Or some players that they are maybe at the end of their careers, but they can't give it up, as most athletes can't ever. And this is a high enough level where they kind of get that fix in, where they're still competing, but maybe they just don't have the legs to do it 5 days a week and travel every weekend. So it's just a right mix for them.
And then they probably have the opportunity to give back then and,
yes.
and teach vicariously teach the younger kids. Yeah.
Yes, definitely, because we have some of these, I call them seasoned pros that come back, and now when they're around our 18, 19, 20-year-olds, well, hey, they've gone through it. Now they can give back to these players on knowing how to take care of their bodies, the way to compete, and just carry themselves, because that's a big part of being a professional player. It's not only what you do on the field, it's really how you carry yourself, how you take care of your body that will ensure that you play and you have a long career. And we have some incredible young women that come back and just nurture, in a way, our younger players, and that's what we look forward to also.
And the league is May through June?
May through July.
May through July.
It's a short season, but it's because of the college players, so that's the window that they have that they can play.
they all have part of that window.
Yes, exactly. Right. Okay. So we'll lose some players in July. We'll have some players that go all the way through the end of July, but they don't come until maybe mid-June. And we'll have some players that are in late May, all the way through June. So it's that's why I can see the rosters of 30 or 40 are working, because it's not one time that you'll have your full roster. Yeah. So again, I'll remember that for next year.
And when would they start practicing? When do you think they'll start practicing next year?
Next year, I'd like to start practices in late May, because most of the school players are still in school. So late May, we'll start practicing next year. This year we started in June, but late May next year we'll be a little bit more organized and ready to go with it. This year was kind of like the spur of the moment, and got it going, and that was the most important. Just get it off. Get it started, and next year will be in May, and I think we'll be prepared and ready for it.
Great. And there's one more home game, right?
There is. There's one more home game at King's Academy, and I actually
can't... June 30th, I think?
I think you're right, yeah. I don't even plan that far ahead, but I think you're right. June 30th on a Friday night at 7 p.m., not 6. So that game might be 7, so it's a perfect time for families. Go have a nice dinner, and then come and support the MVLA Wolves.
The Wolves. That's the name of the team. Okay. And so have some of the players talk to you about what they've gotten out of it, or do the players talk to each other to give each other tips? Are they asking each other questions? What's some of the interaction?
Yes, I mean, I see that at practices, I see that in games, and we've had some of the veterans. I call them veterans because they're, let's say, seniors in college, or juniors, or players that have already gone through the system and now are looking to play professionally, that come in, and you can see it on the field, just the way they coach the younger ones, and at practice they do the same thing. So there's been quite of that has gone on, and I know I appreciate it. They all do, and the players coming back, they were there one day, and we've created that in the past at MVLA, where our college players will come back and play with the club teams or the club players, and it's just a good experience all the way through. But now it happens at the semi-pro level, which is really what we think is the best of the best coming together, and it's worked well, and they've all learned from each other.
And some of the players that are playing didn't grow up in MVLA, but they play at local colleges, and so they're here for the summer.
Correct, correct. Okay. And that's also great, because unfortunately at the youth level, sometimes there are certain clubs that really compete against each other, and there's sometimes let's say, but maybe some bad blood in between for whatever reasons. And now at this level, they all come together and they're playing. I actually had a dad of a player that played her entire career at another club. He took a picture, and she was kissing the badge of the MVLA, and he sent it to me. He's like, I can't believe this is happening. So many years playing for this club, and now she's playing for MVLA. And he actually also coaches at another club. He's like, she's teasing me right now. I can't believe this, but it's really fun, and he's one of the biggest supporters of it now. And it's just, after so many years of these girls competing against each other, now they're coming together, just like what they do when they go in and play at Stanford, USD, Santa Clara, Cal. I mean, they come together, and now they have to play as teammates, and that happens again here.
That's great. That's a good way to wrap up.
Oh.
Thanks so much for joining us, Albertin.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And helping us learn about the MVLA WPSL Wolves.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining us on How Do You Soccer. Please join us next time for our next episode.